Whether it's driving in a car, playing in a park, or hiking on a trail, public safety is top priority for the St. George Police Department. However, response times to accidents and addressing the increased population is becoming a big concern.
But I'll agree, when we're out driving, we see a lot of distracted driving, whether it's with cell phones, whether people are being impatient and running through stop signs or red lights, speeding, and so we're seeing all of these issues, and unfortunately we have just not kept up as a police department with keep getting the number of people to be able to address these issues. And so we're kind of at this point moving forward in our city is, do we want to continue to see the same quality of life that we've all enjoyed here and is the primary reason why we are here in St. George? Or are we okay with us starting to cut some services?
And in an emergency, we all want a quick response when calling 911, and especially to report a crime.
You've got to have detectives to investigate the cases because there are going to be crimes. But you look at our proactive areas, for example, our drug task force. They're not out handling calls. Their job is to go out and find those drug problems proactively and address those. Our bicycle patrol, our traffic unit, those are our three primary patrol or proactive areas in the city right now with our department. And so in my mind, those are the areas we would have to start looking at cutting.
As one of the fastest growing cities in the nation, St. George is experiencing growing pains. When it comes to fire protection, the city's fire department is also in need of new stations and personnel.
We've identified several areas in the next 5 years that will need fire stations. And so we're looking at 4 fire stations within the next 5 years. We'll have to have capital funding for our apparatus that goes in there. We'll have to have funding for our firefighters that we put in there. And so with that is an increased revenue. And the city's taken a more aggressive approach this year with our budgeting to try to capture that in the next 5 years to get where we need to.
This is especially important when it comes to insurance service office ratings.
So ISO rates you from class 10 to class 1, 10 being the worst or no fire protection, and class 1 as your best fire protection. And so those areas that are outside of a 5-mile radius from a fire station are class 10. And so right now those areas, the ledges, desert canyons, and a couple other areas in the city are kind of spot rated. But as soon as we go through another ISO rating where they come in and grade the whole city as a whole again, that'll affect that ISO rating if we don't get those improvements in place.
Right now, the city of St. George is classified as an ISO of 3. In order to maintain the level of service with the resources and the growing demands, the proposed Save St. George plan will increase property taxes to help fund several public safety departments.
This property tax increase will fund 46 new police officers and 22 civilian positions for the PD, 36 firefighters, 100 replacement vehicles for our police department, 46 new police vehicles for the 46 new positions, fire engines and brush trucks, and 4 fire stations, plus an increase in wages for our public safety. And I've worried for a long time because we have a lot of fire stations, but they're not staffed 24/7. And as we have grown, we haven't been able to keep up with the officers we have on the street. So we tasked our budget team with finding a way to fund public safety. And they've done a phenomenal job.
At an estimated $90 million cost, the budget team came up with all but about a quarter of it, and the most stable place to take it from is property taxes. The money will be taxed in increments over the next 5 years for a reason.
We've got one property tax increase this year, and we do know that is needed this year. However, in 2 years, when we're looking at the property tax, depending on our economic situation, depending on some of the other variables, how far we've gotten in the Safe St. George plan, we may not need that property tax increase in 2 years and in year 5 of the plan. And so we've structured the plan to say we're going to only ask for what we need today, and hopefully we won't need that property tax increase in year 3 and year 5.
Any future property tax increases would still have to be voted on by the council.
each of those 3 increases will need to go through the truth in taxation process. They can't just do it right now and cover all 3 increases in the future.
The Truth in Taxation law was enacted by the state of Utah in 1985, whereby government entities cannot increase taxes without going through the process. St. George is one of 51 cities in the state of Utah conducting a Truth in Taxation this year. The city's portion of the entire property tax bill is only 12%. This year, the proposed increase is 27%. In order to know how much more you'll pay, the city has put a calculator on its website based upon the market value of your property or home.
For the average primary residential, it's $60 per year or $5 a month. And that is, again, only to our portion of the tax bill. Other taxing agencies have the ability to make changes to their tax rates and their revenues and so forth, and that's outside of our control. The second increase would be around 13%, and that would be about $2.85 per month increase. And then in the 5th year, we're going to also propose another increase, and that would be about a 10% increase, and that would equate to around $2.50 per month. If we were to implement all 3 increases, our citizens would see on average $10.35 a month increase over that 5-year period.
I got my property tax notice, and my property taxes increased for the city of St. George $54.34. And I did the math, and it's, a little over $4 a month. I'm willing to pay that to have that many more police officers and firefighters in our city.
The main reason that we are going through this process now is because we really want to make a significant impact in our public safety departments right now.
We just hope that people will understand what we're doing, that they'll support the tax increase, and that the council will vote to pass the tax increase.
The St. George City Council will hold its final meeting on August 18th to discuss the needed increase for public safety. In St. George, Melissa Anderson, Community Education News.